Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Friday's live stream. It's as usual a chill stream where we usually talk about TV shows, movies, etc. But we may also talk about other things. If you're here and the live chat, you are on youtube.com/Vimo Live. This is where the live stream happens from Monday to Friday at 9:30 p.m. Previously, it was happening at 10. These days, it's happening at 9:30. And if you are listening to this as an audio presentation at a later point of time, you are probably doing it on Spotify, Google Podcast, Ghana.com, Apple Podcasts, JioSavan, etc. And if you are doing that, please leave a review or a rating or share the episode with someone you know, because that is how podcasts spread. Because social media doesn't really work for podcasts. Well, people don't go to Google and search for best podcast, or people don't ask on social media, please recommend some podcast and then choose what to listen to. Usually, podcast recommendations come from a friend. So, if you have a friend and you can tell them about this podcast, I will be grateful to you. Also, if you want to support the making of this show, you can click the join button below and become a member of this channel by paying a certain amount every month. You will find out how much and how what you get in return after clicking the join button. Alternatively, you can simply send a contribution through the super chat. With that out of the way, I will get to the chat a little bit before I get to the topic. Yashwant says hello. Kaushal says hello. Friday night chill session? As in, yeah, Friday night chill session is just a regular session. I call it the chill session because I try to stay away from topics that are political. So we all need a break sometimes. So Friday is the day I have chosen to have that break. Kavan says hi, Vimo. Arun says hello. Sudipto says today has generally been a great day for memes because of Liz. Oh yeah, the Queen apparently died. Not apparently died, actually died, and many people are posting condolence messages. I'm sure it's a tragic occasion for her family and people who loved her, but I'm personally thinking this is the Queen of England, and you're all Indians, and there are the number of people who have been oppressed by British imperialism, fed by loyalty towards the Queen, is not limited to India alone. This has happened all over the world. It has happened in Africa, it has happened in Australia, it has happened in India, obviously, many parts of South Asia. The British East India Company, followed by the so called British Empire, was not a good force. And the the monarchy of England, or rather, I don't know what to call it, the monarchy of England, the British monarchy, is the symbol of it. So I don't understand why this much grief is being poured. I suppose it's social media. You see a couple of white people saying, "Oh no, the queen is dead," and you all fall into the trap of thinking, "Oh no, we should also condole someone's passing away." But I personally don't really feel anything. The biggest news of today actually is Siddiq Kappan getting bail from Uttar Pradesh, thanks to the Supreme Court. He should never have been in jail, but the getting bail is definitely a good thing. So that I am happy about. Rest of the day, the queen is doesn't really register very high on my priority list. Being human says hello. Puneet says back to normal lighting and not looking like holy women. Munman says, are you able to keep up with your writing along with daily live streams? I am. So far, I am. But I will admit, I was actually thinking about talking about it sometime next week. But since you have brought it up, I am experiencing a little bit of a burnout. You guys all know what burnout is, right? It's something that happens to content creators who post content very regularly. And this live stream is a daily live stream. It happens 5 days a week. I'm experiencing a little bit of a burnout. I thought when like I was doing it 3 days a week, no, 2 days a week, and now then I made it 5 days a week. And I thought that daily live streams would be, more engagement, more talk. But a few things are actually getting in my way. One of those things is that there is a lot of repetition in the kind of things I'm talking about. If someone asked me which video on your channel should I watch if I want to understand power structures, I won't be able to point to any single video because I have talked about it in almost every single episode. If someone asked me, where are the debates you have had with theists, I could not point to a single video because a lot of videos have those happening. So the live stream individual video का जो value है as a standalone episode is only for loyal listeners of the show, but for everyone else it's a bit of a mess. And I am seriously wondering if I should go back to once a week or twice a week. So let me know what you guys think, because I think in addition to me having a burnout which will over a long period of time cause, like मैं नहीं चाहता कि मैं हफ्ते में 5 दिन वाला करूं 1 महीने के लिए और फिर 2 हफ्ते का ब्रेक लूं उससे उबरने के लिए. It will be better if I do it fewer times a week maybe. But again, let me know what you think. This is something I wanted to talk about next week, but since someone asked, I just I felt like I could clarify this. Hmm. Being human says many people just want to be in the trends, I guess. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Puneet says our government announced a mourning day on 11th September. Also, the flag will be hoisted at half mast. I have no reaction to this. I personally think that we don't have to. However, if they think this is part of international relations and our duty as a Commonwealth nation, maybe that's why. Yashwant says episode 3 of Rings of Power is out. Have you checked it out? Yes, I saw it. I saw it. Arun says, apparently the love story in Brahmastra distracts from the actual storyline. This is what I was afraid of. I haven't seen Brahmastra, but this is what I was also afraid of. North Indian cinema does not do fantasy very well because character development and plot are all secondary to romantic relations. Everything goes down the drain because of that. I have not seen Brahmastra. Some people have, and I have heard mostly mixed things so far. Nobody is saying it's extremely good. Nobody is, although some people are saying it's extremely bad, but that is to be expected because people jump to conclusions very quickly. I will form my opinions about it after I watch it. Hmm. Dragoons, sorry. Kavan says the queen is dead, but the king is back. I don't know. I think that's a cricket thing. Dragon says there are clips of Ireland celebrating Lizzie's death. They were chanting Lizzie's in the box during a football match. They have good reason to do so. I don't blame them. Sumana says, I feel like I'm so burnt out that I'm causing global warming. Sorry, bad joke. It happens, man. Like, do take breaks, etc. Mohit Rajput says Siddiq Kapan's bail hearing only lasted 30 minutes in Supreme Court and he was granted it, saying no evidence to detain him anyway. It comes after 2 years of locking him up. That is the tragedy. And it's not even a tragedy that could not have been avoided. It could have been avoided by the Supreme Court itself. The Allahabad High Court some time ago, talking about this issue, said Kerala ka journalist Uttar Pradesh mein kya kar raha tha, which is such a childish thing to say that can't even conceive what reasons there might have been, other than the fact that they wanted to punish this man for no crime. A journalist is doing his job. You put him in jail. You don't do a trial. You don't let him access to court resources. You keep him in jail under a law which is supposed to be applied to terrorists. It's infuriating on so many levels. It doesn't even compute. And a lot of people, including myself, have been infuriated for the last 2 years. Umar Khalid is another case. Complete and utter nonsense in the name of accusations, but they have been suffering for years. And then you say this, and Bhakts will say, hey, तुम इंडिया को पुलिस स्टेट कैसे बोल सकते हो? भैया तुम the illusion of India being a free and equal society went out of the window sometime, maybe for a lot of people, it went out long time ago. But for people like me, at least because our privilege blinded us, it went out sometime towards the end of 2019. We are not a free society for many, many, many people. And Sadiq Kapan is an example of this. But I'm really happy that the man finally gets to go home despite suffering this inhuman behavior for the last 2 years. Slightly less than 2 years, but still. Dragoon says twice a week is a better format. Robert says yes. Arun says, Sumana, you had me in the first half. Puneet says twice a week or alternate days. Twice a week मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि वेडनेसडे मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि सैटरडे को एक दिन करूँगा और हफ्ते के बीच में किसी एक दिन करूँगा. वेडनेसडे और सैटरडे जो पुराना फॉर्मेट था उसी पे लौटने की सोच रहा हूँ. सो यू गाइस लेट मी नो वेडनेसडे एंड सैटरडे शाम के 9:30 बजे या 9:30 बजे इज़ ओके. 9:30 बजे is working better because 5 days is draining me and it hasn't affected my writing till now, but I can see that it is going to. So let me know. 3 days in a week would be good for you. Eman says, hello, I'm here for two accounts. You're here from two accounts. दूसरा वाला कौन सा है? Why is this mystery suspense? मोड क्या है? Says कुछ खुशखबरियां, सिद्दीक कप्पन को बेल, विराट का सेंचुरी, रिंग्स ऑफ पावर एपिसोड 3. रिंग्स ऑफ पावर एपिसोड 3 आना ही था. It is not a surprise. विराट का सेंचुरी I don't give a flying duck about because I don't watch cricket. Siddiq Kapan ka bail is the only good news for me, and I'm supremely grateful today. To whom I don't know, not the legal system definitely, and God I don't believe in, so I'm just randomly throwing out gratefulness into the air. Yashwan says it's better twice or once a week. Yeah, twice a week or once a week seems like a better idea. Munmun says they arrest innocent people to use it as bargaining chip. Now Kapan released by Supreme Court and hijab ban will be legalized by Supreme Court. Balancing act. Let's see. Let's see. Eman says it's a brilliant day so far. Yeah, as soon as the colonizer extraordinaire dropped dead. Dragoon says anime recommendation. Odd Taxi. Awesome. Okay. Eman says, ooh, I have muted the YouTube live on the other tab. What? Oh, you're watching this from two devices. Acha, okay. Aditya says, are we including Mahabharata and Ramayana and fiction stories? I think everything is a fiction story. Even a story about Mahatma Gandhi in the freedom struggle is embellished to such an extent that it is essentially fiction. Fiction can be inspired by reality, but the fact that we are telling it as a narrative with a beginning, middle, end, plot, climax, etc., makes it a story. And I don't mean this as an insult. When I say something is a story, I'm actually paying it a compliment. People, human beings are minor things. We die. But the luckiest and the most legendary people become stories. Watch or read American Gods by Neil Gaiman to understand this phenomenon. Kiran says the mess is great. The style is better. This style is better. You can maybe summarize the points and post separately for standalone posts or videos. But lives being chaotic and messy is good. Nee, that I understand. I think the lives will still be chaotic and messy. But repetition is the thing that I was talking about. Like today, I have a topic. I want to talk about diversity in fiction. I'll show you a video and then I'll talk about what my thoughts about that are. But we'll get to that. Eman says, I think he also lost his father and wasn't able to meet him, right? Was that Siddiq Kapan or someone else? So many people have gone through this complete shit that I'm forgetting. That may have been someone else. That may have been someone else. Arka Samantha says, do you think this boycott culture is ruining both sides, left and right? Is it really necessary to boycott before watching? And if it is happening, then how will it end? I can understand boycotting something that is spreading hatred. I don't understand boycotting something that is not doing that. Half the time, the people who are boycotting have no idea what they're boycotting. So that is also the problem. That is also part of the problem. Eman says also stick to twice in a week. Ray. Every day is too much. हाँ, every day is proving to be too much. मेरा पता है problem क्या है? Like I'm such a bull-headed person when it comes to schedules. I'm doing something, it starts getting difficult after some time. Instead of pulling back, I double down on it. So I was doing it 2 times a week. It started getting difficult to do it 2 times a week. So I said, मैं 5 बार करूँगा. It's like I love punishing myself, but I'm kind of pulling back on a lot of things in life and trying to live a more chill life because health reasons and all that. And I think 2 times a week is a good idea. I think I will go back to 2 times a week. Umar Khalid, Sharjeel Imam, a bunch of Kashmiri journalists. I think Akar Patel or someone was on some YouTube channel and he was saying right now in South Asia, Kashmir is the only place where there is no democracy. AVS says need the state to reimburse Kapan for 2 years. Yeah, they should definitely. I think Kapan should go to Supreme Court and sue the Uttar Pradesh government. Munmun says Charles the First was beheaded. His parliament Protestant section. Hope Charles the Third will have a better fate. Just kidding. Puneet says Shahbaz Ansar once tweeted that I visited the library once and moved all religious books to fictional section, and the amount of trolls he had to face was really ridiculous. This is something a lot of us have done actually. I haven't, but I've heard other atheists also doing this. I think this is a very good symbolic gesture. Emma says twice a week gives time to catch up for people who could not see the live. Acha, huh? Yeah, from the listener point of view, also, I suppose it might be a good thing. Kavan says, how about Monday, Wednesday, Friday? आई वुड रादर सी आई टेल यू व्हाट मंडे फिर ट्यूसडे छोड़ेगा फिर वेडनेसडे फिर उसको छोड़ के फ्राइडे नहीं रे उससे क्या होगा पता है इट्स बेसिकली one of the problems with having a live stream and writing the same day is that the live stream the 1 hour when I have to I'm an introvert I don't enjoy talking but I do enjoy doing the live stream because I'm creating content that is going into a bank and it saves me the trouble of recording editing uploading etc so I'm lazy also but one of the problems with the live stream doing live streams regularly is that it hangs on my it hangs above my head the whole day in the afternoon I'm doing things but I'm also accounting for the fact that 9 से 11 तक मेरा दिमाग ऑक्यूपाइड रहेगा लाइव स्ट्रीम शुरू होने से आधे घंटे पहले से मैं अपने आप को मेंटली प्रिपेयर करने लगता हूँ लाइव स्ट्रीम खत्म होने के आधे घंटे 45 मिनट तक मुझे रिलैक्स करना पड़ता है दिस इज नॉट नेचुरल फॉर मी even though I tried to turn it out into a natural thing because I had a fear of public speaking when I started doing videos, and this helps me a lot with all that. And if I do it on Monday, then Tuesday, chhod ke Wednesday, then the brunt of it does not go away because the thing is still 1 day away all the time. मंडे को खत्म हो गया तो भी ट्यूसडे छोड़ के वेडनेसडे को है अगर मैं वेडनेसडे और सैटरडे को करता हूँ तो मुझे बीच में सैटरडे के बाद मुझे संडे मंडे ट्यूसडे 3 दिन खाली मिलता है और मंडे के बाद 1 दिन खाली मिलता है दैट्स ओके एज एन सॉरी सैटरडे के बाद और वेडनेसडे के बाद थर्सडे फ्राइडे 2 दिन खाली मिलता है सो द गैप्स बीइंग बिग इज ऑल्सो अ फैक्टर सो आई थिंक आई शुड कीप दैट इन माइंड वेडनेसडे और सैटरडे कुछ सोच के ही किया था मुझे लगता है उस पर वापस जाना चाहिए बट आई एम नॉट डूइंग इट राइट अवे विल डू इट फ्रॉम नेक्स्ट वीक Sona says, hey, you don't watch cricket, anti-national. Dragoon says, maybe you can make 3 episodes. Focus 2 episodes on political stuff and 1 day for TV shows, writing, etc. राइटिंग के लिए तो मैं पूरा दूसरा चैनल शुरू कर रहा हूँ इट्स गोइंग टू बी अबाउट राइटिंग अबाउट फैंटेसी कमेंट्री ऑन टीवी शोज फैंटेसी शोज अबाउट राइटिंग अबाउट माई ओन राइटिंग प्रोसेस एवरीथिंग एंड आई डोंट वॉन्ट टू हैव दिस चैनल स्कोप डाइल्यूटेड इस चैनल का एक यूट्यूब एल्गोरिदम को अगर पूछोगे ना ये चैनल किस बारे में है इट विल से 2 things इट विल से रिलीजन एथिज्म कल्चर एंड इट विल से पॉडकास्ट राइटिंग उसके अंदर ऐड करूंगा ना तो दैट विल गेट मोर डाइल्यूटेड सो मैं राइटिंग के लिए एक अलग चैनल कर रहा हूँ देखेंगे Munmul says Charles the First. अच्छा already हो चुका है. Shubham says I don't know why people keep calling themselves as theist because the definition of theism is to believe in God, but they don't believe in God. They claim that they don't know the God. Such people are not theists but liars. Yeah, a lot of theism involves dishonesty. Like people get offended when I say dishonesty, but dishonesty simply means if you don't know something but you claim that you know it, you are dishonest. If you ask I won't say most, many theists, they will say God exists. You say, do you know this for sure? They will say yes. You ask them how they know, they won't be able to tell you. So they are confusing belief with knowledge. They should call themselves theists or believers, and that would be not dishonest. But when they say they know, that is a problem. Yaman says, who is the left boycotting? Hate speeches. हम लोग hate speech को boycott नहीं करते क्या? So both sides हो गया. Sumana says, anyone watched Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives? I don't know why I put myself through such shows. Yeah, why? Ashwin says, I want to talk about diversity in fiction and बात हो रही है Indian politics or religious beliefs की. Ashwin, title है I want to talk about a thing. Doesn't mean I will end up doing it because that is the nature of live streams. You start with an intention, but the conversation goes somewhere else. But what I wanted to talk about, see, since Ashwin has brought me back to the topic, I wanted to share a small video clip with you guys. It's from 2016 Comic Con, and it's a funny thing by writer Shannon Maguire. And she was talking about India and about introducing Indian characters in her stories and stuff. So watch it and then I'll talk about it a little bit. Here it is. Hold on. पहले अश्विन को हटाओ फिर video.
A big diverse world, and I like my books and the books that I read to reflect that big diverse world. I like to see crowds that look like a crowd that I might actually see. And I have a friend, Sunil, who we were talking about books, and he complained that he never got to see Indian characters in science fiction. That despite being a large population of humans, despite being a large population of geeks, you don't really see very many Indian characters having a major role in science fiction. So I wrote him a character. Like, this is Mahir, this is for you. And I thought, okay, great. And now I can slaughter the shit out of him because I like killing people. And then the emails started coming in from
Why did you
people
kill
go.
Indian
No, I
people?
didn't kill him. The emails started coming in from people going, this is the first Indian character I have encountered in science fiction. Please, you can't kill him. Because you are taking
That would
away
be a terrible trope.
100% of my representation if you kill him. And then I had to talk to my editor because I was setting up book 3. And he said, okay, so we have a request for you. And I said, what's that? And he goes, you can't kill Mahir. And I said, why not? And he says, well, we've been receiving letters from people who are concerned
That's
due to your
amazing.
track record that you might be planning to kill Mahir, and he's the only Indian character they have, so you can't. And I said, well, okay, I wasn't planning to because Sunil asked me not to, but okay. And my editor kind of breathes this sigh of relief, and I said, but I wiped out India, is that okay? And as it turns out, wiping out India is okay. But so I want everyone to bring their diversity levels up, both for the sake of not breaking my disbelief.
Exterminating an entire people is not bringing it up. I'm just saying.
Well,
You
there-
wipe out India,
there-
that's a whole
no,
option
no,
gone.
No, there were Indian expatriates all over the world. And the way it was a zombie apocalypse. It wasn't the only country I killed, and the way I killed India actually put them. The survivors were in a great position.
Excellent.
Politically. But I read books. I'll read an urban fantasy set in Chicago or Detroit or New York that everyone is white. I read an urban fantasy trilogy about a half Chinese main character that used the exotic word at least 8 times a page anytime someone met her, because apparently there were no other Asian women on Earth. And when we met her mother, who is also, spoiler alert, Asian, it was a big gold star moment. Like, oh my God, there's 2 of them. This is so hot. And I'm going, I'm not really comfortable with the sex fantasy this book has just become. I have to go now. But so I want every author to bring up their diversity levels, quite honestly, so that I can kill more people. Because if you all have Indian characters, I can kill mine. Get with the program.
I think it's
So, yeah, that was the clip that I wanted to share with you guys. And of course, this is funny, obviously, but also it says there is a writer here who is white, and what they are doing is that they're being aware of the need for representation of minority communities in their country, which happens to be Indian. If that is a good thing, then what is the duty of Indian storytellers when it comes to doing the same for our society? Because for them, diversity means giving exposure to a brown character. Uh, for us, what does diversity mean? Giving representation to people from minority communities, marginalized communities, castes, religions, etc., genders, etc. And we don't do this. But we are very happy as Indian people to be represented because of the color of our skin in writings and entertainment, but made in places with majority white populations. So the need for, like, on one hand, I will be applauding people who are being criticized for being woke, etc. In recent times, Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, acting production communities, they have all come forward and said that we stand by our people of color actors and crew, and if they are getting a lot of hate, then it's too bad. They're not going anywhere, they're going to remain in our stories. Dragoons Dragoon says, I don't know, man. I really do not want Indian characters and foreign stuff anymore after. Some idiots here will surely put an immensely negative spin on it. I'm saying ki we need to be aware of the lived experience of Indians here in India and the lived experience of brown skinned people in America. Now, what I was talking about is that we need to be it is one thing to be in favor of woke representation abroad, and it is quite a different thing to mistake it for support for brown people or people of color. Because in places like India, where brown people are the majority community, or where brown people are the uh, why brown people, upper caste Hindu male representation in our fiction is so vast that I remember, growing up. Uh, I remember growing up. I remember growing up watching films where, for the most part, all the main characters were Malhotra, Mehrotra, Khanna, Gupta, Sharma, Verma, etc. And you did not often get second names from tribal backgrounds or SC/ST backgrounds, Bahujan Samaj basically. Similarly, Muslim representation was there and is there, but it was always some kind of a secondary position and still is in many cases. And in fact, we can have an entirely different episode where uh, we can talk about how there is some kind of exoticization of the Muslim identity in our fiction also. There are always Abba Jan, Ammi Jan, and some Urdu stuff happening when someone on Instagram told me, "अबे मेरे घर में वही बात होती है जो तेरे घर में होती है." Chintu ja tinde leya. That is what is happening in my house. So I wanted to throw some attention on the fact that representation needs to be looked at in the context of the society that it is happening in. And I think this was a great example of it, in addition to being kind of funny. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Let me know what you guys think. Type in the chat. Uh, um, mm, 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 mm. AVS says, Shubham, yes, knowledge is justified true belief. It is a subset of belief, but people bypass the justification and true part and equate belief with knowledge because it gives them format. Well, knowledge is justified true belief. That definition itself has been questioned somewhat. I am not remembering off the top of my head what the objections to it were, but that definition is by no means the universal definition of it. Sharad says, if you consider consciousness to be an emergent phenomenon of matter, do you think it might happen in other levels and materials other than neurons? For example, cosmic consciousness or India consciousness? What? What is India consciousness? I'm totally okay with life forms other than carbon-based life forms developing consciousness in some part of the universe where that kind of life form is common. But I don't know what cosmic consciousness or India consciousness means. Like, before you use a phrase, at least define it, because so that I know what you are talking about. What is it? What do you think? What are you imply? Like, what is the definition of the phenomenon that your words are implying? पुनीत says, ये मंडे वेडनेसडे फ्राइडे या ट्यूसडे थर्सडे सैटरडे वाले में ट्यूशंस का फील घूम फिर के क्लासरूम बना ही देते हो. Dragoon says, or a better format would be one day with you speaking alone while collaborate or bring guests another day. Okay, that's something that can be worked on. The problem is I don't always have guests. But let's start doing the Wednesday and Saturday thing. Wednesday maybe I'll talk. Wednesday maybe I'll talk. Sorry, Saturday maybe I'll talk, and Wednesday there'll be a guest. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Nazu says, what? You don't enjoy talking, but you do it so well, so effortlessly. No, it's not effortless. It's practice. I started making videos in the middle of 2019. For a good many months, I made videos, and they were extremely stilted videos. Then 2019 happened, and I started writing really regularly on Instagram. And I started working on the YouTube channel also, because I figured at some point of time I might need to make more videos, but YouTube never took off. Then one day, very hesitatingly, I started an Instagram live, and it turned out that I was not that bad, and I got better at it. And eventually, this channel happened. Peaceful Nook says, Sharad, why do you arrive at that conclusion from the prior assertion? Just because consciousness comes from matter doesn't have to mean that India should be. Again, I would not jump to any conclusions about what they mean. I don't know what India consciousness is. I don't know what cosmic consciousness is. AVS says, Dragoons, love that format. Talk about a topic one day, take questions about the next time, maybe even take suggestions on topics for the next video on that day. मूड क्या है सर? ट्विटर पे आनंद रंगनाथन को फॉलो किया. बहुत सारे बात से अग्री नहीं करता, बट बहुत सारा बात सोचने पर मजबूर करता है. ओके. Yashwant says, what's your thought on the newly opened Central Vista? I was opposed to the government making a priority during peak COVID. But now that it is done, I like the planning, well, at least from what I have seen from the news. I don't like it. I think it's a huge waste of money and it was completely unnecessary in a country where people right now are suffering because of lack of jobs, healthcare, education, and the economy is in the gutter. It matlab, it shows that our list of priorities is absolutely ass backwards. We did not actually need a new parliament building. We did not actually need a revamped Rajpath. These are luxury projects done on the whims and fancies of people in power, and I am not in support of it. बन जाने के बाद obviously कोई तोड़ने की बात नहीं करेगा, and that is what they have used. Being Human says, write a fiction creating your own religious characters. I am doing that, sir. Heman says, yeah, Vimo's 29,049,405th channel. शरद says peaceful no, I haven't arrived at conclusion merely okay इनका किसी और भी डायरेक्शन में चल रहा है बेकर. अरे भाई एक दूसरे के बारे में इस बारे में बात करने से पहले ये तो समझ लो कि तुम किस बारे में बात कर रहे हो. What is the meaning of India consciousness? What is the meaning of cosmic consciousness? Eman says, Sumana, I watched it for time pass because I was in Bhopal. Okay. Hmm. Eman says, Vimo wants to, but हमारा want और Vimo का want नहीं match हो रहा है. I'm skipping a few comments. Hmm. Kiran says, what is your take on writers writing characters with marginalized identities? I think it's a good thing, but writers should, if writers are writing about a community to which they do not belong, they should do significant amount of research because otherwise they end up exoticizing them. I mean, Samit Basu recently wrote a novel called Chosen Spirits, and his protagonists were not from communities about which he did not know. He has said in interviews that I knew that if I write about characters whose lived experiences I don't know much about, I could probably mess it up. So I stuck to creating characters who are from my background, and I put them in situations which you read the book and find out. Munmun says Patel sisters in Harry Potter. Harry kisses the Asian girl. Too bad. Hmm. Hmm. Battler says Gendy Tartakovsky is the creator of Samurai Jack and even wrote Hotel Transylvania. Fortunately, Primal is closer to Samurai Jack and fantastic as is expected. Hmm. Okay, Kiran का पूरा question ये था. What is your take on writers writing characters with marginalized identities when they might not understand the difficulties, nuances of living as a person of marginalized caste, gender, sexuality, and might misrepresent it? Already answered that. I think if they do significant research, they can possibly do a good job of representing it. But if they feel like it is not up to them, they should avoid it. Dragoon says, I don't know, man. I really don't want. Okay, already read that. Knight says, hey, Vimo, glad to catch you in a live session. Thank you, Knights. Thank you for being a member also and welcome back. Puneet says, this reminds me of the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One of the lead characters, Stephanie, said while she was auditioning, she heard that another Latina actress is selected for a different role. So now there is no way that the producers will hire another Latina woman, but they did and she was amazing. Oh yeah. ये joke इसके बारे में भी था, The Walking Dead के बारे में. Apparently there was one black character in the cast all the time. So whenever one black guy dies, the next one comes in. So somebody made a joke about there is a line of black people waiting to get a role in the serial. There can only be one black person on the show. Dragon says, but on the other hand, they would not even bring some actual true diversity that did like existed, like many World War movies. Yeah, that is a thing. Although there is a tendency to, I think a lot of people go for movies set in the 30s, 40s because they think it's going to be simpler to have a world where the only white people existed. Because actual movies and presentations made in those times had a mostly white cast, but that does not change the fact that the world has always been actually that diverse. It's just that the producers of the entertainment who had the privilege of creating the entertainment did not feel obliged to represent those people. Right now we live in a time when most people from those backgrounds are able to say their own thing. They can say, I should have been there. मेरे जैसा कोई दिखने वाला इस फिल्म में, इस नॉवल में, इस सीरियल में होना चाहिए था. And increasingly it is becoming more difficult to ignore them, and that is why representation is happening. Arun says, I don't think writers are obligated to make their cast diverse, but the backlash to diversity is stupid. If you ignore all the other lore inaccuracies of ROP, Rings of Power, to focus on black elves, you are an idiot. That is true. And I don't know how I would respond to I don't think writers are obligated to make their cast diverse. If I'm a writer and I'm writing a story set in contemporary Europe in a city which has significant populations of people of color, and I create a story set in that town which only has white people, then A, am I being honest? B, is my book going to receive a backlash from the people of that town? And C, if it does get that backlash, do I have the right to complain? And I'm mostly talking about fantasy also. People are talking like people write fantasy, and there is this accepted definition of fantasy because certain medieval themes go along with it, like knights, swords, dragons, and all. And if you put a black character or a woman who's fighting as a knight, people, these fanboys, mostly white, will say things like that's unrealistic. And like, बेटा तुमको दिखा तुम्हारी स्टोरी के आकाश में एक ड्रैगन उड़ रहा है, वो बहुत रियलिस्टिक लग रहा है तुमको, है ना? उसके मुंह से आग निकल रही है. You can handle that, but you can't handle a woman holding a sword and fighting in a battlefield. So I think writers who feel that they are not obligated to make their cast diverse are at least fooling themselves into thinking that their commitment is to realism. It's not. It's to a their commitment is maybe unconsciously to an ideal created by the stories that they have consumed till now. फैंटेसी में बीच में कुछ साल तक एक बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये था कि फैंटेसी बुक का जो कवर होगा ना, उस पे जो कैरेक्टर्स होते हैं, दे वर ऑलवेज व्हाइट. Writers complained कि I never said this character was white. Like I did not make him black, but I never said this character was white. But the artist who drew automatically, the publishers automatically assumed that it's कुछ कलर नहीं है मतलब white ही होगा. White is the default. And हमारे यहाँ पे बहुत बार ऐसा होता है. हमारे यहाँ पे if someone does not specifically, uh, what do you think is the reason behind people putting pronouns in their social media bios? He, him, she, her, they, them, etc. Because otherwise people just assume they're a man, a heterosexual man or a heterosexual woman. Gender binary, rather. So there is a reason people point out diverse backgrounds. And I think it's a good trend and it should continue. Battler says representation is good as long as S people know what they are talking about. Having a character whose only trait is their ethnicity, sexuality, or gender, then it is better not to have those characters. This I agree with. Diversity cannot take the place of good storytelling, but it is also wrong to assume that just because a story is diverse, it is going to suffer from bad storytelling. Because अभी recent times में ऐसे बहुत सारे stories थे जिसके बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा social media complaining हुआ, but they were actually not bad stories at all. People assume कि कोई diversity मतलब किसी फिल्म में ट्रांस कैरेक्टर, वुमन कैरेक्टर, पीपल ऑफ कलर दिखे नहीं कि ये लोग ऑटोमेटिकली उसको बुरा फिल्म डिक्लेयर करना शुरू कर देते हैं. एंड दिस कंप्लेंट यूजुअली कम्स फ्रॉम व्हाइट बॉय, स्टार्ट्स विद व्हाइट बॉयज, गेट्स पिक्ड अप बाय ब्राउन बॉयज बिकॉज वो लोग भी अपने सोसाइटी में प्रिविलेज कैटेगरी के हैं. एंड देन इट गोज ऑन. एमान सेज मैं हूं ना. व्हाट? ये किस बारे में था? बी एक्टिव बी हैप्पी सेज व्हाई मोदी इज हैविंग अ स्टेट मोर्निंग फॉर द क्वीन. पता नहीं यार, कॉमनवेल्थ नेशन है इसलिए शायद. Munmun says, why not Friday and Saturday? Rest of the week you will be free. Friday and Saturday. The problem is I don't actually want to do anything on Saturday and Sunday. Like I don't want to have any obligations. I want my mind to be completely free from stuff so that I can just wander. But yeah, Friday and Saturday अगर करूँगा तो अभी तो और कोई ये भी है भी नहीं. देखते हैं. दो दिन लगातार हो जाएगा ना. That is also another thing. But we'll see. We'll see. Kaushal says, Sarath, even if consciousness is an emergent phenomenon of many neurons, it does not follow that there would be emergent from many. ये लोग अभी तक उसी भी ऊपर हैं. Manmat says, I have a special contempt for the word cosmic, especially when it comes in relation to another word spiritual. So I stick to literal meaning of the words. Same here. हम लोग cosmic word को बहुत loosely use करते हैं, and often the meanings that we are implying are not even clear. So Being Human says, could you write a fiction creating your own religious characters, doing what religious people do to the good, bad, and the end? I am writing a fantasy novel which has multiple species, multiple fantasy races, so to speak, in different areas of the world, of that fictional world, and they all have their own religions. So you will see that whenever I finish writing this story. मतलब मुझे धर्म को क्रिटिसाइज करना इतना अच्छा लगता है कि मैंने फिक्शनल धर्म बनाए उनको क्रिटिसाइज करने के लिए. Sumana says the representation matters. It's needed especially from young kids from minority groups and marginalized communities. Every kid should find one adult that can model good things honestly. Hmm. Shuddhodhan says, have you read Osho? I have read one book by Osho, I think, a long time ago. AVS says, Vimo, in my understanding, the JTB problem is that the truth part is not, justified true belief problem is that the truth part is not always accessible absolutely. And sometimes, even if it is justified and true, the believer does not know the reason of it. Sanket Anayak says, your favorite written character? Too many, sir. Too many. Manmat says, Eman, watched some of your posts on Insta. It was worth it. Most of them are shorts. Would you please post long interactive videos? AVS says, but feels like for the most real world cases, justified true belief holds good to the extent truth is accessible. Sharad says, by India consciousness, I am drawing an analogy just like individual neurons produce one consciousness for a person, different people combine to make one consciousness for a nation. In a metaphorical sense, I'm not opposed to the idea, but in actual sense, I don't think that it is possible because there is no evidence for it. We don't have evidence for large scale mental connections of the variety that may be called telepathy, perhaps. Read Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie, by the way. It's got a similar concept. It's fantasy. Munmun says Anya Chalotra in Witcher season 1 was awesome. There was so much hate before the release. How can a brown girl play a role of Yennefer? Yeah. By the way, is she Indian? I didn't know that she was Indian. Like the Chalotra sounds like Malhotra or something, and Anya sounds European actually. So I don't know if she's Indian. Just double check. Nazu says Star Trek had a lot of diversity. Yes. In fact, if nobody has watched Star Trek and is getting intimidated by it, just for diversity's sake, watch Deep Space Nine. Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's great. Manmat says, I used to love wildlife memoirs such as Corbett's hunting expeditions. Would anybody suggest me similar literature, fiction or non-fiction does not matter. Arka says, have you seen The Boys, Vimo? If yes, what is your take on it? Arka, I have seen The Boys. I have also talked about The Boys here on an episode. There is also another episode on The Boys on our pop culture podcast on Gutter Space. If you go to Gutter Space, the channel, you can find the episode on The Boys. You'll find the link to Gutter Space on the main page of this channel. Ashwini says, I'm guessing this is what was meant by India consciousness. I Googled it. A national consciousness, within quotes, a national consciousness is a shared sense of national identity and a shared understanding that a people group shares common ethnic, linguistic, cultural background. Yeah, this consciousness depends on language. It is not a naturally occurring thing. It depends on language, which is a human invented thing. It is contingent upon people using language to share stories about their culture and their feelings, and that is where it comes from, the national consciousness that you're talking about. Neurological consciousness is a different thing. Puneet says also TV show recommendation, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's openly woke and amazingly funny show. It's a comedy show about cops and captain of the precinct is a gay black man. I have seen some episodes. It's quite funny, but I have not really watched all of it. Dragoon says even Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk movie had no Indians in it. Yeah. The movie 1918 had some soldiers with pagdis in it, but some British folks were pissed off. Yeah. होता है. होता है. Shubham says, Vimo, please tell some comics you have written and from where we can read it. अरे इस बारे में, so I have written a comic series called Ravanayan. You can find it at holycow.in, the website of the publisher. उसके अलावा मैंने कुछ नहीं लिखा है. मैंने कुछ साल पहले कुछ और कॉमिक्स लिखी थी उसी पब्लिशर के लिए, but I don't know when they will come out or if they will come out. Maybe their release has been stalled. Evan says commitment to uphold hegemony and the status quo. The statement comes out of like what is the context? मैंने क्या बोला था जिसके जवाब में ये बोला गया है? Ajay says Brooklyn Nine-Nine actually tried to include BLM in their last season, but according to reviews, it is not able to do justice to that storyline. Okay. Shubham says in abroad, singers are independent and get credit and recognition for their song. But here in India, talentless actors take all recognition and credit for the song on which they just acted on. Uh, Abroad, they don't have the tradition of playback singing. Here we do. And playback singing often, like even if you listen to old, like I remember listening to All India Radio long back, and they will always introduce a song by गीत को लिखा है इन्होंने, गीत को गाया है इन्होंने, गीत फिल्माया गया था इन एक्टर्स के ऊपर. So they gave proper credits where it is due, even though it was radio and nobody needed to know who it was filmaya upon. But yeah, I think the tradition of playback singing is something kind of more or less unique to this part of the world, and that is why this happens. Nazu says, how about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Nazu, the same thing. A huge chunk in the middle of the week. Like, I want large chunks of free time between two live streams. Wednesday and Saturday works. K says, the titles on the post about the writing channel looks very interesting. Release them soon, please. Hoping for writing advice, how to create plot, outline, how to write good dialogue, etc. K, if you like that, do one thing. Go to the community tab of this channel, जहाँ पे मैंने share किया है वो screenshot. In the comments, let me know what you would like me to make videos on, and I will do my best. Kavan says, as an upper caste male, I do not have the lived experience of people from other sexualities, caste, gender, etc. But I want to represent them in my stories because you don't see much of them. How do I do it? Expose yourself to their lived experience. Speak to them, read books by them, read accounts of their lived experience by them. Expose yourself to as much of it as possible. The worst thing you can do is to go into it completely with closed eyes, because then you will create a caricature, and that is what we have been doing to gay people for a long time. Stories mein gay people are already always almost played for jokes. Are wo gay hai, ha ha ha, and they will act in a weird clownish way, and then it will go down the drain, and it creates a situation that is quite possibly worse than no representation, because it is misrepresentation. So if you are going to represent a community about which you don't have enough experience, don't do it, or do significant amounts of research after you do it, and then get your what you write, get it read by people from that community, so that you can find out what you have been tone deaf about, what you possibly left out, what you possibly could include. It's a long process, it's not easy, but it's worth doing. Moonman says, can you invite Ranting Gola for an interview? She's awesome. Yeah, I have followed her content on Instagram, and I also like her quite a lot. So I will try. I will try. Dragoon says, Anya Chalotra is of Indian descent. Oh, okay. Yes, Anya is half Indian. Okay, I did not know this. Battler says, Kawan, maybe read stories written by people from those communities, or have someone from that community who is conscious. Vet your characters for accuracy. Yeah. In the West, in fact, they have they have a category of editorial level called sensitivity readers. So if you are writing a story which contains people of color, you run it through a sensitivity reader who specializes in that, and they will tell you whether you have been accidentally offensive in your story. We don't have that. We don't even, हमारे यहाँ तो लोग नॉवल का फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट लिख के छाप डालते हैं, एडिट भी नहीं करवाते. So हम लोग बहुत दूर है वहां से अभी. Shreya says, always wanted to ask, what is the story behind the name Gutter Space? Is it some wordplay that completely went past me? Arey bojo, you've seen a comic book, right? There are panels, boxes. The white space in the middle of them, that is called Gutter Space. Ashwin is a comic book writer. I have also written some comics, so we called it Gutter Space. That's why. Gutter mein space nahi hai. That is not what it means. Nazu says, Manmat, Jungles Long Ago by Kenneth Anderson. Eman says, I love doing this. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is not woke. It is the opposite of woke. It is literally a cop propaganda. That is also one way of looking at it. In fact, there are cop shows which stopped production in the middle of Black Lives Matter because there was no way they could. There was one show starring Nathan Fillion. I don't know if it ended. I don't know if the last season has come out, but it cop shows kind of went down in popularity around the time of Black Lives Matter because there is no way you can make cops look like a good guy, at least in the context of Black Lives Matter. Because then it ends up being like, good guy with a gun is what you need to stop a school shooting and stuff like that. AVS says white people get angry if POC play a Western character, but Ben Kingsley playing Gandhi and winning Oscar is okay. That happened a long time ago, and this discourse did not exist at that time. And also, Ben Kingsley is not white. He is a person of Indian descent. His ancestors came from Gujarat. Eman says commitment wala comment was about people not giving representation. Yeah. Srinivas says, what do you think about the idea of decoloniality propagated by people like Sai Deepak? I have already talked about this a few times. I think it's a nonsense concept. They talk about decolonizing people from colonial influences of the British variety, but what they advocate is colonialism of the Brahminical variety. When they think of native culture of India, they think that if you remove Western colonial influences, what you will be left with is some crystal clear native Indian juice. It's not. It's Brahmanism. It's a whole lot of ritualism, cultural dogma, casteism, etc., which is best described as Brahminical propaganda. I am totally in favor of decolonizing people, but remove the Brahminical influence also. If you're not going to do that, if you're going to think that Hinduism is some kind of natural water inside which Indian culture floats, then that's not decolonizing anything. It's replacing one colonization with another one. Sharad says, I came across the idea in Schrodinger's book, My View of the World, also a philosophy article. If materialism is true, the US is probably conscious. Okay. I don't know what that even means because I have not read the. Eman says, Vimo, you already know the answer to your live stream question. That is true. Munmun says, Rings of Power got 24 million viewers. House of Dragons R rated got 10 million for the first season. फर्स्ट सीजन खत्म कहाँ हुआ है अभी 3 ही एपिसोड आए दोनों के and Rings of Power is wonderful. I'm liking Rings of Power. I don't care about listen watching 2 episodes of a series which has 59 episodes coming is like reading one page of a book and saying this book is not that great. I was talking with Ashwin earlier today when we are recording our She-Hulk episode 4 ka reaction or rather review or discussion that we are living in the middle of this culture of instant feedback. With movies, it makes sense. You go, you finish watching the movie, you do it. But in series, in the case of a series, I'm not prepared to say whether I like a series or not. I'm only prepared to say that so far, what I've seen of Rings of Power, I'm enjoying. Life is too short. If my anger is going to go somewhere, there are better places it can go. Uh, Social workers and political activists being put in prison is a better place to focus your anger than Lord of the Rings के map में वहां पे वो पहाड़ नहीं था. It's okay. You can deal with it. I mean, even super fans of Lord of the Rings are being reasonably tolerant about it. So I don't understand those who are like really angry. Oh my god, this show sucks because I saw one episode of it. It's okay. Even in Peter Jackson's adaptation of Lord of the Rings, everything was not honest. They gave Aragorn a character arc, which J.R.R. Tolkien never did. They did so many things different from the books because they had to. That is the nature of adaptation. You cannot literally just lift a book and put it on screen. Things will have to be changed. Some things will change. Some things are going to be different. And this series, Rings of Power, is drawing upon work that was not even written as a narrative by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's mostly from a rough world building document kind of thing. So they have to invent original characters. In every episode so far, there have been original characters who did not uh, get mentioned in Tolkien's writings. People are like, if the stranger turns out to be Gandalf, I'm going to be so mad. Guess what? It's probably is Gandalf. I think it is Gandalf. And I did not need to know any lore to do that. One look at that face tells you, that kind, confused face tells you this is a wizard. It's either Gandalf or Saruman. And I think it's Gandalf. But I don't know much about what they're going for with the show. So I cannot be completely sure about anything. Maybe they're trying, maybe they're deliberately making people think it's Gandalf. But yeah. AVS says, but I guess Kingsley had some Indian ethnicity. So yeah, he did. He had Gujarati ethnicity. Has Gujarati ethnicity. Shreya says, I don't think B99 is cop propaganda unless I'm missing something, especially last season में तो properly George Floyd वाले केस को address किया है और क्या ही करेंगे for it to be called woke. A, why does it need to be called woke? And B, I haven't seen it, so I cannot comment. Shubham says, just check the website. Damn, man, artwork is amazing. Yep, artwork is amazing. Being Human says, do you follow Western atheist personalities like Alex O'Connor, Cosmic Skeptic, Dark Matter, Drew from GM Skeptic, Rationality Rules, etc.? Yes, I do. Puneet says, Shreyas, yes, exactly. Even though they had one gay character, they also included a bisexual woman in it. Srinivas says, do you think the idea of decoloniality propagated? Okay, already answered that. One more says, gutter space. Okay, I thought it was some sort of self-deprecating joke. No. Gutter space means space between panels. We should probably clarify that in the like, because हम लोग comic book writer ना, हम लोग ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि सबको पता है सब कुछ. But I think we should clarify in the Ashwin, if you're watching, please put that in the description of the channel. Puneet says, Kawan, read Premchand, Adam Gondvi, Bhishma Sahani's Tamas, read Dalit writers, it will help. Shubham says, many people call it upper caste, but some people like me loves to call it criminal caste. Dr. Suraj Engde. Shreya says, exactly. If we start calling B99 also cop propaganda, then to kya hi acha lagega. For me, it was just a show of humans who happen to be cops. Black, white, brown, homosexual, bisexual, सब आ गए. Okay. Again, मैं इसके बारे में comment नहीं कर सकता कि मैंने actually show देखा नहीं है. एक दो episode देखे हैं. Munmun says, Ben Kingsley is an adopted name. His original was too exotic for getting a role. Like Dilip Kumar's original name is Ayub Khan. Okay. Sumana says, Crime Patrol is the best. Okay, skipping a few comments because we are at the 57-minute mark. But I think we are kind of at the end anyway. Yashwant says, every frame of Rings of Power is glorious to look at. Yes, it's quite beautiful actually. Shashank says, reading books or watching a motion picture. Which of these do justice to get a clear picture of any content? Reading books. Taranga is here. Hi. Nazu says, Shashank, movies you get someone else's picture. Books you create your own. Taranga says, joining this live stream means having to go through bloody Zomato ad though. Okay. A bunch of people have been complaining about ads. Imagine how bad it must be on Twitch. Shreya says, अरे मेरा दिमाग तो सोच रहा था कि gutter space is wordplay of Shutterstock and MySpace का underbelly. I know, weird line of thought. we when we were starting the podcast, we thought of so many cool names, but they were all taken. One of the names we considered was Escape Pod. That's such a cool thing, but apparently there's already a podcast about pop culture called Escape Pod, and so many other names we also. What were some of the other names? If you go to Gutter Space channel and go to the very first video, you will find us talking about the name. We had not decided on the name yet. So go and watch that video. I think it's, I don't know if you'll find it funny or not, but I find it quite amusing. But yeah, I'm at the 59-minute mark. I'll just remind people that if you want to support this podcast, you can do so by clicking the join button and become a member of this channel. Alternatively, you can support on Patreon, patreon.com/Vimo. Hold on, let me put that on screen. Hold on, let me first play the music because we're about to end. Where am I? 30. If you want to support on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/Vimo, VIMOH. You can make a monthly or annual pledge. If you don't want to do that, you can make a one-time donation at my blog, which is vimo.stck.me. There is a support button using which you click it, you make a one-time contribution. There is no monthly or annual funda. Any amount of your choice will help. And if you want to buy t-shirts and stuff, you can do so at kadakmerch.com/Vimo Live. Kadak Merch is where I sell t-shirts which have some slogans on them. There is one t-shirt called Sabka Malik Fake Hai, which is for atheists if you want to. Or if you're not an atheist but still like the idea, get the t-shirt. There's another one which is Words Are Weapons, which is my Instagram slogan. And these are things you can buy there. You can buy hoodies, t-shirts and mugs. Those are the three things available there so far. And if you want to listen to the audio episodes of this podcast, you can do so at www.vimo.in. All the audio episodes are available there. There are also links to all the audio apps on which you can listen to the show. And यही सब था ना, और कुछ बोला क्या मैं? कुछ नहीं, कुछ नहीं बोला, हो गया. Thank you for watching. There are a couple of comments in the end. Hold on. Batman Begins says, भारत जोड़ो यात्रा now in attacking mode. बीजेपी FB पेज तो सुझा दिया है. आज 8 साल बाद लगा ऑपोजिशन है. श्रेयस says, मैंने आज की स्ट्रीम का स्टार्टिंग मिस कर दिया. Can you please repeat any changes that were decided today about the days and time of the podcast? Shreyas, no changes have been decided yet. अगले हफ्ते पॉडकास्ट वैसे ही होगा जैसे हो रहा है, मंडे टू फ्राइडे. उसके बाद वाले हफ्ते से जो भी चेंज होगा वो करेंगे. मुनमुन says, Kanhaiya YouTube channel is good. His speeches are strong attack on BJP hate politics. Sumana says, I watch ads on Vimo's and Science's Dope channel. Good. Taranga says, okay, good night. Sorry Taranga, तुम बहुत late आए आज. But yeah, I will now take your leave and I hope you have a great weekend. Today is Friday, so tomorrow and day after tomorrow there is not going to be a live stream. I'll see you all on Monday at 9 p.m. Until then, have a great weekend and be safe. Thank you.